So let's talk setting up an iron set. Lots of questions about what irons I should play, you know, should I use cavity backs, blades, those kind of ideas. In my bag, I go from cavity backs to blades, well, hollow body cavity backs. So let's talk about the best way of setting up your iron set for your golf. Some of the questions you want to be asking yourself, thinking about when it comes to buying your favorite set of irons. So blades or cavity backs, game improvement or players irons, chunky clubs or thin clubs, whatever title we want to give them, there's reasons why we might choose one or the other of these clubs and why they might suit our game better. So what might make us make the decisions? Well, let me just play this hole out and let's talk about where some of the decisions can be made that might influence your choices between quite contrasting looking clubs. So I've got a 9-iron down in front of me that looks how I want a 9-iron to look within reason. It's got not much offset, so how far back the front line is kinked back from the leading edge of the club from the hosel. It's got a medium to slender top line, not the thinnest but not the chunkiest, and I don't see that much club out the back. So when I look at that, I get what I need to look at out of a club. It's on the slightly bigger side, but I don't mind making that compromise because when I put my longest club down there, like my 6-iron, I like the fact that it is chunkier. This has a bigger sole, this is a tight lie, but the way I'm going to be hitting this club, I don't think that's going to make any difference really. And it feels how I need a club to feel because it doesn't feel too crazy loud off the face. Just think about some of the terms I'm using there. I'm using terms like feels and looks. You know, I'm really wanting my club to deliver confidence in those aspects. But I want it to do other things as well. Obviously, it needs to react with the ground. Chunkier clubs, thinner clubs. I need to be able to maybe manipulate the club as I go around the golf course, hitting higher shots, lower shots. Might have hit this green, but if I haven't, let's show you why I might then turn to more of a bladed club for some of the specialised shots. Oh yeah, really nice shot, look. So, but look, let's just pull this off the green. So we'll just put it off the front of the green here. Big long chip up to the pin at the back. So now I'm looking for my sole to do some different things. So I've got a 52 wedge here, which goes into very much a bladed club. And my pitching wedge in my set actually turns into the normal bladed set for the thinner sole. Because these kind of shots I want to be going maybe really low. I want to be maybe adding a little bit of loft. So with the 52, I want to be adding loads of loft, or go to my 58 and add loads of loft. So we've now got a different agenda where I want a little bit of versatility in my clubs. Not that the pitching wedge in the set that I've got wouldn't do this, but it would restrict me maybe if I wanted to really open it up. And sometimes I'll get in a bunker and I want to hit a really, you know, 40-yard bunker shot with my pitching wedge. Having that big sole there is now maybe something I don't want. It doesn't mean I couldn't do it. It means for me, if there's an option of going for a different club, like in a blade, then why wouldn't I choose it? It's there. I don't need help, particularly in my wedge. The loft of the club is helping me out. That little bit more versatility in what I can do in the sole is really what I'm going to buy into and try and capitalize on with my set. So I think really you can have the best of both worlds in the modern kind of golf club setup. Bladed clubs through to cavity backs, but that leads to a problem because look what happens in my golf bag is I have to have two of them because this is lofted more like a 9-iron. This one's going a distance of a 9 and this is my true pitching wedge. So in effect I stop at my 6-iron like I said earlier, but really it's a 5-iron. In relationship to old money. And that's something you need to bear in mind when it comes to comboing or having that mix of cavity back to bladed irons, is that you need to make sure the lofts are matching in, otherwise you will find you're going to get some big gaps up one end or the bottom end. Now your ideas of cavity backs, the blades, I think we're all very aware, like your cavity backs in theory might have a higher MOI, so they might maintain ball speed a bit better across different parts of the face as you miss hit, which then means short and long hits might not be as spread out. That's debatable, but something you could go and test and see if you feel better with is the kind of rules of thumbs you would be looking for. I'm really dialing mine into the distances I want my clubs to go. I definitely see bigger and smaller playing into your feels of what feels easier to hit or not, which then in turn can inspire confidence. Inspiring confidence makes you want to get out there maybe and hit them a little bit more often. What a stunning hole here at La Cala. I have gone very safe left with that one. Kick in. Left side of the green. Matt would be proud of me with that because that is the ultimate bottle. Even with my high MOI game improvement pitching wedge, which is a 9-iron. So what should your longest iron be? I would say this is one of my pet peeves with custom fitting. You in the comments down below, let me know when you've been for a custom fit, are you in a 6 or 7 iron? Now my longest iron happens to be a 6, but I only know that because I've got 5 4s and 3s that I've tested. Trying to find out what your longest club is when people are only testing like with a 6 or 7 iron and then they haven't got the hybrid or combo one next to it, I think it's a bit of a shame. But this is such a key element of golfer's bag that really needs thinking about. So I'm 201 to the middle, 2 balls here. I've got my 6 iron, which is a real push to make it, but can, and then I've got my 22-degree hybrid, which should get there. So if we hit the 22-degree hybrid to start, this is the club I would select from this distance, subject to the situation. Certainly this situation, it would be one of the ones I would consider. This club is dictating what my longest club is. So my 22-degree hybrid is one of my more preferred clubs. So I've hit that pretty average, a little bit off the toe. It might come up a little short, but might bounce up near the front, which it did. And that was a pretty average hit. That hit with a equivalent 5 or 4 iron would have gone halfway because that was like a high toe. Now bear in mind, my 6 iron is a game improvement chunky club. I'm glad it's a chunky club because it gives me the option to give it the full whack, which I'm going to do now. Which I've struck much better on this situation. I'm not sure it's going to reach. It might make the front edge. Oh, not far off to be fair. But having a really good knowledge of where your longest club blends to your next longest club is so key to setting up a good iron set. I would say this is one of the areas of people's golf bags that has the biggest hole, whatever. So for me, that 200-yard shot kind of area, subject to how far you hit the ball. You're like 170 to 200, or you're 160 to 180, or if you're a long hitter, you're 200 to 220. That area, so blending what your longest iron is that you game in what style, so chunky or not, with the next club, where it be a 3-wood, a fairway wood, a 1 iron, a 2 iron, whatever it is such a key area you need to get right, because the statistics show us so clearly that the better players are better from 200 yards, that equivalent distance, where amateurs and as you come down the handicap ranks are worse. But what's so interesting when people come for lessons and custom fits and what have you, it's so interesting how that part of their bag is still so like just mushy, forgotten about. I ask them, what's the loftier hybrid? Oh, they don't know. What's your longest iron? Well, I've got a 5 iron, and then where do you go from there? Well, I kind of go 3-wood or 5-wood, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's floppy answers, and they need to be much more definite, because this is an area that can be really improved for so many golfers. Trying to find a fitting centre that has a good array of longer irons and hybrids and driving irons is a great way of setting your bag up. Really going in and making sure you tell the fitter, you know, what your favorite club is at that top end. Like, I don't want to get rid of this club, so we need to build the iron set around this club. So for me, my 22-degree hybrid would be a club I don't want to change. Like, I might change model, but 21, 22, I need a hybrid around that loft. So I would always, when I look at clubs, when new clubs get sent through and what have you, I'm always thinking about building it around that number. So I'm actually building my bag around that 200-yard shot. I'm building it around that area that I know I need to be performing on, as the world's not the longest hitter in the world, and anyone watching this video off a handicap that they would rather be off a lower handicap, you're going to find that if you look at your numbers, subject to how far you hit it, you know, your 160 to 200, 210 area costless shots. Build your bag strong in that area, not weak, which is the common problem when building those iron sets. So length of the club, so how long your club is, and the lie of the club, so how it sits on the ground. The length definitely can dictate how much speed you can generate in a plus and a minus, subject to how you react. So longer clubs, as a general rule, you can swing faster, but some people don't, but something you would test. Also, the longer the club gets, as a general rule, we tend to find that people's strike gets a little bit all over the face. As you go longer and longer and longer, the strike tends to get more varied. So finding that sweet spot in length and in lie is something that's really going to help you build a good set of irons. And as you probably got from most of this video, if you think of all the points I'm making, this is why it's so important you do go and see a specialist, someone who can really help you. You know, you're not expected to know all these are just things hopefully you can take to these sessions and ask these questions. Because if you're buying off the rack, you're going to get a standard lie, possibly, if that's what they put on the rack, a standard set, and where there's not many standard humans in this planet. Look, let me just experiment, or let me just show you the importance of lie with these two shots. So I use lie to shape the ball. So if you think about that, I'm using lie to shape the ball. You could have a lie that is shaping the ball unintentionally, which is going to get you in a lot of trouble. So I'm going to try and hit a big draw into this 18th. So my hands get a little bit lower. I aim to the right. I turn the face a little bit close to my aim point, but it's still pointing right at the target. Toe in the air slightly is going to allow me just to get that face aiming a little bit further left. And I feel like from this position, like I can hit a big shape shot, which I'm doing. That ball's drawing up to the left side, slightly too much, but might kick in. Got a kick right, not bad. So I used a few aspects to draw that shot, but what I did do is my setup encouraged this lie, which makes me feel easier to turn the club this way. And as this is a 6 iron, it's got a bit of loft. It points the loft a bit further left. It's closing the face of the path almost in that setup. Now I'm going to try and hit a straighter to a slightly fading shot. So I'll stand with a slightly higher posture, higher hands. This makes me feel like I can come through in a different way, but at the same point, I'm trying to make sure my face is not pointing left of my path. I want it open to my path. So using the lie hands higher allows me to feel like I'm going to get the fading shot and the face more open to the path. So I'm using lie to shape. That's a nice straight shot, just dropping off to the right. Not quite as good a strike, might not reach, but straight at it. Oh, a little bit short, but dead straight at it. So if the lie of your clubs is off, you're going to get a massive shock when you take this set of clubs to the golf course. And then you go and add aspects of the golf course. I mean, think of here at La Carla, look at the slopes we're playing with. The ball is very rarely level to my feet. So I need to know where my kind of dry ball data standard delivery is and then work the variables in. I don't want to go and add another variable that I have to relearn by having a set of clubs that is the wrong length or the lie isn't right. And then as you go to more lofted clubs, believe it or not, if you go to a more lofted club and the lie is wrong, certainly with the toe up in the air, it tends to have a more of an exaggerated effect of moving the face way off target. So what you get, people say, oh, I love my new set of clubs, but my short irons are pulling. Well, they might be a bit upright. And the other thing I've seen really good fitters do is they can manipulate strikes at where someone hits on the face by changing lie, depending on which part of the ground they want to deliver that toe or heel or flat into. The general is delivering flat, but I've seen people move players' strikes by changing the lie as well. It's a real good tool that fitters can use to help you get the most out of your irons. Length and lie has to be a huge consideration when you're buying your next set of irons, and something that you will need professional help with as a general rule. And then finally, your wedges, where you have to build the top end of your bag around your longest kind of clubs and blending them. It's the same at the bottom end. You need to be building your pitching wedge, 9 iron, wherever you're finishing your wedges or your irons, into your wedge game. Because this is a part of your game that needs to be dialed in for distance and control around the, oh, don't go in, around the hole. But as a general rule of thumb, I do see maybe a what can we say? A bit of an exaggeration in the amount of wedges that people have. I used to have a lot of wedges. I've basically got two. I've got a 58, a 52, and then I go to my pitching wedge, and then I go to my next pitching wedge, but remember that's more like a 9-iron. So I'm really kind of down at 2 wedges, and I'm not a great wedge player. It's not like I'm mega skilled. So I'm, like I say, 58, and then I've also got a 52 in here. My wedge game, my wedge setup in my bag is reflecting more my top end. So where I've got 2 hybrids, a free wood and a driver, I'm loading that end up with more options than I am the bottom end. I definitely see amateurs having, you know, 4 wedge combinations, and it's something the wedge manufacturers will promote because obviously they want you to buy more wedges. But I would say the versatility that your average golfer has from 100 yards in is much higher, meaning let's say they've got 2 wedges and then a pitching wedge. From 100 yards in, they can hit a 9-iron, a pitching wedge, and their other 2 pitching wedges, 4 clubs. From 200 yards, they tend to have 1 club, if that. Put in more versatility at that end, so I have 3 clubs I can hit from 200 yards, the 6-iron, the 22-degree hybrid, and my 18-degree hybrid if I wanted to hit like a really soft, high-cutty one. I've got versatility at that end, which is why down at the bottom end, when you give someone more loft, as a general rule, they tend to be a little bit more able with it. Now, if you're an average golfer who has, you know, 4 wedges and it really helps you play, keep, you know, don't change, do not change, keep using them. You know, you might have a wedge for bunkers, you might have another one for tight lies, and then another one for average lies. But certainly be careful having too many wedges. I think it was quite fashionable. Tour pros would talk about it. Manufacturers definitely like to talk about it. I like to see my players generally work on that top end because I know they've got versatility in that bottom end, because wedges aren't that hard to hit. Saying that, obviously, if you're Rory or me and you fat and fin them a little bit, that's Rory off our videos, not Rory McIlroy, then yes, they are hard to hit, but giving me more clubs to fat and fin doesn't make me better. It just gives me more clubs to fat and fin with, if you know what I mean. Let me know if this helps. Let me know what I've missed out, if there's other things you would be interested in. Obviously, when you go to custom fits, you can think about shaft options, weight of shafts, flex shafts, all those kind of things, and dial them in. I think that's a given. This is more generalized idea of styles of clubs and how to set that bag up. So I'm a very comboed. If you think about my set, I'm heavy hybrid, heavy game improvement, blending into blades. Like, I'm a real kind of hybrid set of clubs. You don't need to be, I need to buy a set of irons, please. Get them all working for you individually. You might be a better golfer for it.